Hi, I'm Jupiter Darkling, I'm here with Crisis Darkling, and today's topic is, what if all art forms go on strike? Now you may think that would only be about visual artists, but it goes so much deeper than that. It's not just the painters or your favorite digital artist, no. It also goes for the entertainment industry, such as musicians, bands, people who make your TV shows, your favorite films, and even then it goes deeper. Because if you like to get your nails done, your nail tech, be on strike. Like to get your hair cut and colored, be on strike. Like a new house to be built, well, guess what? Not gonna happen because the architecture will be on strike as well. Art is such a broad concept, and it goes all the way from a visual artist to someone who designs furniture. All those things are art. And if everyone who works in artistic sector would go on strike, the world would be such a drab place.
Certain art forms and that are appreciated more than others. So like Netflix is popular and people will be at work and on a night they'll watch Netflix, or on a weekend watch Netflix, or streaming, anything, And again, if all that was on strike, but I think that's where it comes down to like education as well, like how, especially with the visual arts, it's been, I think that's where this question's like come from as well, because I think visual artists are kind of like, nobody relates to them anymore, nobody will like buy an artwork or things like that, but yeah, they'll turn to music or Netflix and things, but it's the same thing, like if them things that, we used to, if they go on strike, and I think maybe it'll make people appreciate like visual arts as well, because you don't realise yourself how much like visual arts like involved. And if everybody went on strike, and also what if we were to remove every art piece, every art form, everything off the planet as well? Yeah. If it was all removed. So when people say like we don't need art, and it's not a necessity, it's always said that art is not a necessity, and I think that's the point on this. I definitely want to make myself that it is, because there's some cultures where they appreciate the visual arts. In our history, the visual arts was appreciated. Go back to cavemen days, what was the form of entertainment? Cave art. And that really is no different to, in a way, painting on a canvas now. It's just things change, but that's the thing, that if we remove all that, I think everyone's so into this capitalism now that everyone's just so into their own jobs the jobs that matter. When they go on strike, let's come to a standstill. So of course when doctors and nurses in the UK go on strike, yeah, there's an impact. When bus drivers go on a strike, Birmingham in England right now, they've gone over 100 days on strike. Yeah. And there's litter everywhere, there's bin bags everywhere in Birmingham, there's rats. They're making a point. Yeah. And of course that's a necessity. But it's the same thing, like, if we strip all the entertainment things away from us, what have we got? What have we actually got? Yeah. And you're left with, back to the caveman days, like, do your own entertainment sort of thing, but we'll tend to that. Yeah. You'd found that families would, and again, strip your phones away, all the entertainment things that you got on your iPad, on your phones. People now can't live with the phones because there's some form of escapism. Yeah. And I think to sum everything up, it's that escapism that we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Whether it's like from visuals to music or anything like that. Yeah. If you get rid of all that, what we escape, scrap that. That's the point. Everything that you use to escape, scrap it. Yeah. And let's forget the necessities that we're talking about. Because we all believe that, oh yeah, we don't need Netflix. It's not a necessity, but it is. Yeah. And even the internet in some way, it's a form of escapism. It's some release from somewhere. It's expressing yourself in some way. Because you'll go on the internet and you'll go on social media and you're doing something that is stimulating yourself from that. But to go back to the actual like creative industries, that's the core of where things come from with escapism. Yeah. So if we scrap that, maybe that's where people might understand that, yeah, the arts, creativity is a necessity. It's part of our human nature to do them things. And no matter how basic it is in the past, go back to caveman days, when, I don't know, they might play on bongos or something like that for entertainment and music and dance around a fire. So simple as it is, but that is no different to people going to a concert, a gig now.
Yeah.
But I think this is where people, again, are not valuing the things of, like, experience. And, or I know gigs are a lot more expensive to... Well, not so long ago, you bought an album, and people used to say, well, why buy an album for a tenner? Why go to a gig for, like, 30 quid, 20 quid, when you can listen to the album for a tenner?
Yeah.
That's changed in just, 10, 15 years. Now, people stream it for free. So albums now are not costing them anything, but still people, like, are a bit reluctant to go to a concert or whatever. And, all right, concerts have picked up lately.
Mm-hmm.
But, like all trends, things pick up and they'll go out of fashion again one day, and there's trends and all that go on. But I've never understood where people put... And it's not that they can't afford it. I get if people can't afford something, an experience, then... Yeah, obviously I get that. But when people can afford it, they choose not to.
Yeah.
I'm the other way. I'm more like, I'd rather go to the gig and I buy the album or whatever, or, you know what I mean, things like that. But
Definitely.
I'm all about the experience because, yeah, you can hear the album anytime, anywhere, now for free. But the gig is something that you experience.
Yeah.
And it creates memories and stories and whoever you go with and them sort of things. Like, if we take all that away, like, what are we left with?
Yeah.
And people don't realise part of humanity is creativity as well. And to go a little bit deeper, people's minds are wired differently. Some people can, like, just... They've got to create like, something, somewhere, like, in an art form.
Yeah.
And usually they're wired the same way. Like, we're night owls ourselves, and a lot of, like, musicians are. They'll work late in the morning and creating albums, finishing albums, and everyone else can be, like, doing a 9 to 5. And it's a totally different world, yeah, but that's sometimes... It goes hand in hand sometimes, like being a night owl or being creative.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we take it all away, like, what have we got? And after listening to this, you've got to ask yourselves, like, whoever's listening to this, like, is it really a necessity?
Yeah, and it even comes down to, like, certain zen moments. Like, I, for example, hate going to the hairdressers and get my hair cut. I hate it. I just don't like it when they touch me. I'm like, ugh. But some people find zen in that. They find it a pamper moment and they love it. They love to get, like, their hair cut, colored, get a blowout or whatever, curls, perms, whatever you can do nowadays with hair, I don't know.
But again, what is haircuts? Again, it's self-expression.
Exactly.
It's a form of art form for the person itself that's having the haircut. It's an identity.
Exactly.
Which is no different to, like, an artist. It's self-expression sort of thing. It's a similar thing.
Exactly. And, like, that person going to get the haircut is being treated by an artist because the hairdresser is an artist in a way because they know how to do, like, fancy colors, like neon pink or rainbows or balayage and all that stuff. Like, they know exactly what they're doing and what they're talking about and how to do it, and that itself is an art form as well, and that the person wearing it or walking around with it, that's self-expression. So in that way, that's art as well. It's a visual art. And if hairdressers would go on strike, like, look back at the COVID days, how many people had, like, hair fails back then because they started reverting to YouTube tutorials about how to cut their own hair and color their own hair, and like, you saw all those videos everywhere from people with massive hair fails. And, like, it gets deeper than that because, like I said, for some people it's of some form of escapism because it's a moment of zen, a pamper moment that they look forward to, that haircut moment. For me, it's the same as when I get my nails done. It's a moment of zen for me, where I just have a nice chat with the lady who does my nails and, like, we bitch and moan about the world. And then We have laughs about something stupid, and she's creating art on my hands. And then that's a moment of zen for me. Or when I get a tattoo. It's not a moment of zen, but it's more of I'm walking around with some cool art. I'm walking around with some art that resonates with me, that has deeper meaning to me personally. Don't get me wrong, if you're a person who just likes an image and then has it slapped on our body, perfectly fine. To each their own. But for me, there has to be some meaning behind it, and that to me is then my form of escapism, like where I just shut off from the world for like a few hours, and usually when I get tattooed, I don't talk to the tattoo artist, only before and after, but not during the session. I just want them to be concentrated and focused and let them do their thing. If they ask me something, yeah, of course I'll reply. But it's not that I have full chat sessions like I do with my nail tech. And those are all forms of self-expression that are a necessity, because we all have our own identities and a way like we want to portray ourselves to the outside world to let the people know like who you really are. It might be that your form of identity in a physical way is wearing nothing but plaid, for example. Cool, you do you. But that is made by a fashion designer. And then, that's necessity as well, clothes. But there's also art in it, because everything you wear is made by a fashion designer. Or if you wear graphical t-shirts, it's made by a visual artist who draws something digitally on their iPad or a drawing tablet or something. So that's where art also comes into it. It is in clothing. That form of self-expression is also a form of escapism in a way, because you get lost in your own world, in what you want to be. Video games, for example, massive form of escapism. You literally get drawn into this world that doesn't exist. Like Call of Duty, for example. War exists in real life. You don't want to experience it. But in a video game, apparently, it's fun. Then you got another video game, what's it called? Elder Ring or something like that? Elder Scrolls? I have no idea. Fantasy. There's like dragons and all that stuff. Obviously don't exist, but you know, cool to play on a screen and get lost in it for a few hours. Those are just all different forms of escapism, different forms of personality as well. Because when you play video games, you're a gamer. And a lot of people express that as well with game merchandise. You wear a t-shirt from your favorite video game or something like that. Like in my family, The Legend of Zelda is a big deal. Oh my god, that goes back to when I was like 3 years old, that my parents were playing the video games, my brother was, and when I got a bit older, I started playing the video games, and it's something that bonded us together. That our interest, and some of my aunties like that video game, and some of my cousins, and it's like a whole thing in my family. And that also becomes like a personality trait in a way, that you can share it with people, that you have an interest in video games. And it becomes something that connects you to others. And it kind of seems like I'm going from one thing to another. And in a way I am, but I'm just trying to get a point across. Like back in 2020, with COVID days, museums were shut. Now that's a form of escapism as well. Looking at a beautiful photography exhibition, for example. That's in some museum. But then, playing your favorite video game. Form of escapism. Awesome. Or watching a film. Binge watching your TV shows. All those forms are a necessity. Because your brain needs that release. Your brain... Seriously, the world is so messed up. You cannot afford to live in reality 24/7. Because the world is so full of pain and hate and nasty things that you need something to unwind with. Whether you need to unwind from your job, the cruelties going on in the world, whatever, you need to unwind with something. And for everyone, it's something different. And that becomes part of your personality because we all have our own interests. So in a way, That's the point I'm trying to make. It is part of who we are. We create art. We are artists, visual artists. That is part of a personality. But we also love music. My fiance plays a little bit of guitar. I play a little bit of violin. That's part of personalities, is music. But it is so undervalued. And people underestimate the power that any artistic form can have for someone. Now, I knew this architect, and that's also a form of art. Designing houses and buildings and stuff. And he was the father of my brother's ex-girlfriend. And I once saw blueprints of things that he was drawing, because his office was in their house. And it's fascinating because he said, yeah, it's a job, but it's also to relax because you're creating something artistic at the same time while you're doing maths and keeping certain things into consideration, like the weight of snow falling on the roof and, those things. So it's also very therapeutic at the same time. And that's what it's part of his personality. Work, yet therapeutic, interest, maths, part of who he is. So yeah, the point I'm trying to make is just that every form of escapism is a part of who we are, is a part of a personality, whether it's in video games, creating art yourself, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, cosplay. All those things are integrated into a person's personality. It's a form of escapism, a form of self-expression. And that's why we cannot live without it. So if every art form would go on strike, we would have nothing in life. There would be no houses to live in. There would be no furniture to sit on. There would be no TVs, because what are they going to broadcast if there's nothing in the entertainment industry? There would be no technology, because what are you going to do on your iPad if art programs don't exist, like Procreate? What are you going to do on your iPad when video games don't exist, like your little free-to-play or freemium games or whatever? What are you going to do on your phone when social media don't exist? Because that's all based on people showing their lives and sharing their art and their crafts. Clothes wouldn't exist because there's no fashion designers to design them. So we would have nothing. Art is in literally everything.
And I think as well, like with the old, when you, like what you said there, it's like therapy where it's your job and it's not like work.
Yeah.
And I think that's one criticism that you get as an artist is that, oh, you shouldn't get paid for that, or you should do it for free, or
yeah.
A lot of musicians like hear it as well, like, oh, you shouldn't charge for this, and you enjoy it. Well, because what I found odd was people are kind of wired into being miserable and sacrificing your time equals pay. You get money in exchange of your time and the boredom. But then that's my point. You come home from work, you tend to entertainment.
Yeah.
But if the entertainment ain't there, but somebody's got to get paid for that entertainment that they're providing.
Yeah.
So in that way, that just because it's a job, and anyone can do anything that they want. It's just that if an artist has decided to be an artist that somebody else envies, then why are people envying that?
Yeah.
And that's why I do say, well, you do it then. In that
Exactly.
way, you do it. If you're going to criticise being an artist, if it's so good and you're getting paid for having fun, you do it then.
Yeah.
And you can't criticise somebody without saying, like, well, you do it then. Mm-hmm. In that way. But yeah, one thing I don't get, I know this in an art and it's onto sports, but nobody criticises sports. Mm-hmm. And sports is really, really, like, building up now in the last, like, few years. It's becoming, every summer now we're getting, it used to just be, like, World Cups and Euros and that was it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, everything's represented now and every sport is on TV and slowly, bit by bit, TV's getting overtaken by sport. But that's something you don't hear about with sports.
Yeah.
You don't hear people saying, like, oh, they're overpaid or, footballers. And they're idolised. And it's one thing in, like, I know it's not art, but it's entertainment still, because that's why people obviously watch matches and it's escapism still.
Yeah.
But again, strip that away, how far do you go with it, with entertainment? Because sport is not really something that we need in life, or it's keep fit and healthy, but anyone can jog on the spot. Anyone could go out for a jog. And I think that's the mix-up with how it comes over with the media, that it's kind of seen as healthy and fitness and it's this great lifestyle. And that equals, by watching it, it's all a good thing. Whereas art don't come into fitness or anything, but yet mental health it is, because mentally you're exercising your brain anyway. So it is up there with sports.
Yeah.
But it's something with sport I never understand, how sports is absolutely overpaid, and yet nobody ever says... And we're living in this day and age now that if you're at school and you say, I want to be an artist for a living, teachers would criticise that. But, you can't earn money as an artist. And people, again, get on your back about it. That the world don't work like that. You're supposed to be miserable and get paid for being miserable. Yet, it seems to me that somebody wants to be a footballer, everyone's encouraging it. Like, you can dream big. Because look at the adverts on TV right now.
Yeah.
You've got the Women's Euros on, and now everything's marketing to women because women have been underrepresented. Mm-hmm. Now you can see like how all these businesses are now all advertising this and sponsoring the Women's Euros. I'm not being funny, but it's for them to look good as businesses. That's what we're on board with women now, and all of a sudden now it's picking up. And it's where it was years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the same thing now. Now it matters again. And it's been there in men's for how long?
Yeah.
And still, they're overpaid and nobody will question it. But when it comes to art, and I get the whole thing with sport, it's a tribal thing, and I get that. Mm-hmm. But there's so many things that you can also do in so many different ways as well. Like, the fact that art is... If art was taught in schools... people would be brought up different with art and they would have a different opinion in it. And people will. They would buy, if they was educated about art and things, they would support art more and get more involved. But I think a lot of things, when it comes to things, it's big business and it's sport, and when it's too easy and there's a market for it and there's the demand for it. And that's what it is. But people can also, schools and the media can also make or break supply and demand for things. If schools and the media big things up, people would like go to it. Like the women's football, for example, now there's a market for it now.
Yeah.
10 years ago, no. And it's whatever's on the agenda, and that's the sad thing about it, that anything can happen, and it's just so sad. That my point is, it's so sad that things like the arts now are just not any longer like relevant to people anymore.
Yeah, and I want to come back to what you said about mental health. We have this ad in the Netherlands now about this really funky animation about this character, and it is doing things like sports and stuff. And then it says something like, we all know that sports is good for your health. You can exercise or go to the doctors or even exercise with your doctor. And I'm a bit like, what? But anyway. And then it says, but what about your mental health? It says, make time for your hobbies. Make some time to go into nature. And it lists a few things that you can do to take care of your mental health, which I think personally is a pretty good ad, because a lot of people don't think about mental health. They just think about their physical health. Little do they know that if your mental health is bad, it affects you physically as well. So I'm not going to go on a tangent here, but I'm going to explain something. I have CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. That is a mental health thing, because something in your brain is not quite up to standard, just to say it like that, which causes chronic fatigue. But it reflects in your physical health, not just the fatigue. No, it also gives you joint pains or muscle pains, severe headaches, stomach issues, sweating a lot, problems with body temperature regulation, because some people are really cold. And those, just to name a few things that come with it. Same when you experience depression, You can get physically ill from it. You can get the flu more often because your immune system is starting to respond in a different way. And that's this is my point. Like, that ad on TV in the Netherlands is right. You need to make time for your hobbies. And that's where I'm coming back to the escapism. Escapism is important. The entertainment industry is important. And that goes again for like TV shows, dancing, like going to a ballet show or something, a gig, anything. And if you like to crochet, do it. It's important for your mental health. And if you keep your mental health in check, that also keeps your physical health in check. Of course, there's certain things, some diseases, some afflictions that will happen throughout your life, like the flu or some more serious diseases, like some people get kidney failure even though they do everything right. Some things will just happen. But if you keep your mental health in check, you eliminate chances of getting the flu more often. Those chances of you getting the flu will become slimmer because your body reacts to your brain. And isn't your brain the most vital organ you have? So how important really is it to keep your brain healthy? Insanely important. Those are just things to think about. If you have a hobby that brings you such joy, make time for it. Don't use the excuse of like, oh, I'm so busy with work and balancing social life and this and that. No, take time for yourself and enjoy your hobby. Because your health will benefit from it. Not just your mental health, your physical health as well, because it's all connected with each other. And another thing that I want to come back to is you said about schools with teaching art. Mm. When I was in high school, the first year of high school, we had this art class and we had to design a building in the style of Salvador Dali. So, as an artistic person, I absolutely love that assignment. But the majority of kids in class are like, oh, I can't draw. Okay, fair enough. But it's a way of expression. Don't complain about it, just go along with the flow, because a lot of people are not athletic, but we also have to do PE. A lot of people can't do maths, but yeah, we have to sit in math class.
And exactly, we've all also got to do language and maths.
Yeah.
We've got to do that. Now, people who have got weaknesses with that, you've got to do it.
Exactly.
But that's it. If we're taught different, that what if art was compulsory? Yeah. Because it is an expression. It's something we can do that animals can't. No, it's because it's such a laid-back attitude, which again, I think why art gets lost and whatnot.
But it was taken so not seriously in that first year that the kids in my class, they did not want to obey the art teacher. Well, she was so sweet. She just was fresh out of whatever it's called, teaching school, whatever. I have no idea what it's called. And she was so enthusiastic. But you could tell her attitude started changing, that she started dreading to teach our class because everyone was so horrible to her. Because they were like, oh, I can draw, I can do art, so I'm not gonna. What I'm gonna do is terrorize you. To a point that her stuff was thrown out the window from 2 stories high. Someone threw an eraser at her and it hit her right in the eye. And that left some damage. And they did some more things, but the eraser thing was the drop. She quit after that. And that is absolutely... Oh, that just kills. Because she was so enthusiastic about art and teaching kids art and trying to explain to them that it's a healthy form of self-expression. And even though you're not good at it, you're expressing yourself in a way that you can do with other things. So you don't have to be good at art, you just have to find a way to express yourself in it. And she was so enthusiastic about that, but she got bullied so bad that she quit. And I thought that was so sad. Seriously, all the other subjects you have to do are mandatory. And art is just one of those things you can eventually drop if you like. But why? Because there's so many things that you have to do in school that you're not good at. Because, like, I'm not good in maths. Luckily, I was in a year where I was still allowed to drop it after it became mandatory, because the year after it would have become a mandatory subject. But there was other things, such as, like, I'm not good in French. I suck at French. It's a really hard language. But I had to choose between French and German. German I wasn't good at either. But I had to choose one. One of the two was mandatory. So I chose German. And I just got a passing grade for that. There were so many things that I was just not good at, but you had to do. PE. I'm not athletic. Not at all. I like certain forms of exercise, but like playing football or handball or volleyball, baseball, stuff like that. Oh my god, I hated it. I hated it with a passion. But you had to do it for all those years. You had to. I did HAVO, that was 5 years of high school. PE, had to. 3 hours a week, had to. Art was only 2 hours a week. And you could drop it as soon as you could choose your own subjects. So I think there should be a bit more emphasis on the fact that art isn't everything, and that art is good for you. Again, you don't have to be good at it. You just have to look at it from a different perspective. Instead of saying, I can draw, look at it as in, I'm expressing myself in a healthy way that is helping me develop. Because it's a really big deal in developing, because seriously, every child you give a crayon to, they start drawing. It's in you naturally. It's a form of self-expression. Why else would a child start drawing? Because every child can draw before they can write. Even if it's a simple squiggle, it is a drawing. It's in you naturally to express yourself that way. And that's also how you find out if you're left-handed or right-handed. Or both. I think there should be a bit more... that the governments and everything, the people in power, should be a bit more lenient with it. Like, okay, we understand art's important. We get it. Let's go deeper into it and make it mandatory as well, or something.
Exactly the same with us. I'm from a different country to you, and PE, I echo all of that. We have to do PE, but art was the same. Like, art was like my strength in a subject, but everybody used to go to me and like, oh, Rich, draw me this and draw me that, and I was having to like do everyone else's work because they couldn't draw.
Yeah.
Now, I'm dyslexic, but not once did I go to anyone else and say, oh, write me this or write me that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's the same thing in that, but again, it's that we're not taught in a way, and people can like look at an abstract and, all right, I know there's like a lot of bad abstracts out there, but what people don't realise about abstract is it's like, it's got composition and it's about colour theory, and them things are taught about all that. And the depth that you can go to, like, especially, I don't know about your culture, but ours, like, we've got Shakespeare, and you don't talk Shakespeare.
No.
It's like a foreign language in some ways, and yet we all have to do Shakespeare in our English. And then you've got the more creative part of it, like poetry, English literature. Mm-hmm. But because people can read and write, and they've learned how to read and write, then they can also go more in depth with when it comes to things like poetry and understand that. So when it comes to more something art-based, they're better at learning poetry than they are at art. But because everyone's got it in their head that, oh, I can't draw. But why can't they draw? Because they've never really been taught to, because there's never enough hours. It's never a subject that's like, no, you're going to do this because it's basically for your own mental health, it's your own good, it's an expression, it's a form of being diverse in communication. Yeah. So we don't have that. Yeah. And I think that's why PE is, because PE is packaged up as fitness and all that, but from a lot of PE is, what I've experienced is a lot of bullying goes on, because you've got all these people that, especially from like a guy's point of view, you've got all the I was never into football, I was never into football, but you've got all these others that was. Yeah. Back then, I didn't even really understand the rules. I just wasn't interested in it, but I had to do it. And it can cause bullying and stuff like that. PE is like really bad for like bullying, but nobody gets bullied for not being able to draw, because 90% of the class I was in, they couldn't draw.
Exactly.
And I was the one having to like do the drawings and that for them. But I think one thing like what school need to learn is that, like, that's why I think like people don't understand like an abstract.
Mm-hmm.
And people also get confused with like a bad abstract where, yeah, if a 5-year-old can do it. And I've always said if you look at something and a monkey painted something and a 5-year-old painted something and an artist painted something where, again, it just looked identical to theirs, you really didn't know which one. If you're an art critic, and that's where I think like sometimes like they can get too involved into the arts, like, oh, look at this beautiful, abstract, and it's like, oh, anyone can do that, in that way. And it's been done before where art critics have been pulled up on it, where like, oh yeah, well, a monkey did that,
Yeah.
Or a 5-year-old did it, and and certain things like that, and it's like when you use like colours and things like that with abstract, and you've got like an actual composition with things. The thing with abstract is that people think it's about seeing something in it. Like, people just think that, you've got to see something in it. Because your brain's got to match patterns. You've got to match patterns. If you don't, you don't understand it. And a lot of people are like that because people are taught about it.
Yeah.
The thing is with abstracts is that it's like a piece of music. You listen to a classical where there's no lyrics, where obviously lyrics you could understand. But if there's a classical piece of music that you listen to, whether you like classical or not, if you don't like classical, you can at least hear it, but you know and accept it. You don't go, what's that about?
Yeah.
That don't make sense. Because you're not looking for any patterns or anything to... You just accept it, that they're talented, and that's it. It's not your genre of music, it's not your style, that's it. End of. The thing with abstracts, when I say it's like done properly, is it's the same thing. It's you're painting, rather than... What does a piece of music look like? What is it? It's just a load of noise that's constructed in such a way that, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's nice to listen to. It might give you feelings, or you might not be into that, but you just at least know that it is what it is, and nobody criticises it. Nobody says, well, that's mumbo jumbo. But when it's an abstract, everyone's looking for something. Well, it doesn't make sense to me, and I can't make out what it is. So even when it's a good abstract, people just don't get it. But the thing how I see abstract is it's like colours are sounds. So to me, an abstract is like a classical piece of music without lyrics. It's music without lyrics.
Yeah. And
when you've no subject to look at it, like body language or emotions that we read from, like a painting, can be a fictional character or anything. But if that subject is sad, well, your body language, you just know that that's sad. You understand that. That's like lyrics of music. But like I said, classical piece is like an abstract. It's just a visual version of, like, say, like a classical piece of music. That's all it is. And it's just knowing that colours give you feelings. Mm-hmm. And certain moods, and people just don't understand it.
No, and I don't want to...
And that is also good theory as well for, like, mental health. Like, just slap paint about, whether it does turn out like mud. Whether it is a 5-year-old that has done it. My point on that is different on that when it comes to like art critics and stuff like that. But anyone can mash anything about.
Yeah.
But that is having the freedom of like going on the drums and bashing it, whether you can play drums or not.
Yeah.
Probably you're going to enjoy it. Or strumming a guitar. And that's the difference between like a good abstract where an abstract where a monkey could do it.
Yeah.
Like a monkey could bash the drums about. Mm-hmm. Just like you could, and you can't play music or anything. Or, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. But the enjoyment that you get out of it is the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And, going off on one there, but...
No, it's okay. Yeah, and for example, I do love classical music. There was this one piece that I absolutely fell in love with when I was like 3-4 years old, when I went to Efteling. Spookslot. These holograms and stuff, with this graveyard scene, and it's kind of spooky. Doesn't exist anymore. So sad about that. But they played the classical piece Dans Macabre. And seriously, just thinking about it, I can hear it in my head. I can hear the entire song, the entire orchestra playing it. And I just fell in love with it. It was so beautiful. But there's a lot of people who would listen to that and they don't understand why I think it's beautiful. They'd just be like, okay, it's music, whatever. But some people would say it's crap. And that's something I never understood. Why would you call a piece of music or a musician or a band crap? Because there's always someone out there who likes it. It's just that your taste differs from that person. So instead of saying it's crap, just say it's not to my taste. Or I don't like it, it's not for me. And that is something that annoys me a lot when people just are like, oh yeah, that band is crap, they're absolute ugh. They don't know what they're doing, and it's like, yeah, they know what they're doing, it's just not to your taste. So why are you criticizing them like that? Like that's crap. No, just accept the fact that it's not your type of thing and just let it go. And to come back to the original point from this entire podcast, is that every musician out there is a form of art. Every painter out there is a form of art. And if we'd all go on strike, the world would be nothing. Because everything, in a way, revolves around art. And that's what makes me sad, that schools are not teaching more properly about art, because everything revolves around it. It revolves around your mental health, which leads to your physical health. From the furniture in the schools to the way the teacher looks, the way that the students are to express themselves. Okay, if you wear a uniform, you can maybe express yourself a little bit with hairstyle. But in your day-to-day life, you dress the way you want. And that is just something that really, really grinds me down. The fact that if art is not taught in a way that is important, that the world is so dark and sad without it, like, how can it not be a necessity? If we'd all go on strike, there's absolutely nothing left for us to enjoy.
I think, again, like, especially like in the UK, I've noticed, like, schools are, like, conditioning kids to, like, yeah, they wear a uniform, but it's going more than that, because, like, what you said there about hairstyles, I've noticed, like, oh, you can't be too wacky, you can't...
Yeah.
I noticed, like, for example, like, dyeing your hair and stuff like that now, they're, like, people have been sent home for having, like, colourful hair. And so they're no longer out, they've got to wear school uniform, but the things that they can't express, they're getting punished for.
Yeah.
And they're getting detentions for. And I've known of, like, people in my family, who've gone to school and they're measuring the ties, for God's sake, and they're not allowed to talk in the corridors. And I think we're getting so conditioned into, like, all do the same, be the same, follow, do this and don't question.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting really sad now. But there was something, again, back to this where, I think this, again, where people, again, say, like, oh, it must be nice to be an artist. Yeah, they can't draw themselves. Like, when you were at school, nobody can draw. Well, if it's that good, well, you do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to make their minds up in that way. But, yeah, so I think, like, because people are getting conditioned to be a certain way and be all the same, follow, don't question. There was something I did look into a few years ago, which I found, which I was wondering why, like, what's the crime with being an artist? Why do I keep getting this question all the time? Like this, oh, work's supposed to be sacrificing your time for misery. And you get paid for that. That's your reward. And what I found was, it's actually this thing, I was reading this thing with psychology, that we feel guilty for our ancestors because we've got technology now and things are making jobs easier and more efficient and this and that. But it's actually because of our ancestors that we're wired in a way that they struggled, and so should we. So when you do jobs like as an artist, people are a bit like, oh no, you don't do that, you don't get paid for that, get a proper job. And again, what you was on about music and that there, at one point there was a band, biggest band at this point in the 80s, 4 members in the band, all 4 members, their family all said to them, there was the biggest band on the planet, they made it, and they've been 10 years doing it, they've been gradually going bigger and bigger, they finally made it, and then the families was like, yeah, all well and good, but when you're going to get a proper job? And still to this day, that was from the 80s, they're still massive now. And I think that's their family is the mindset of like what a lot of people are like in that way. That still, you're never going to be good enough. You could be the biggest whatever on the planet in the creative world.
Yeah.
It'll never drop that thing that people have got in the what's wired in the mind that, yeah, all right, well, get a normal job.
Yeah.
No matter when you make it, and I hear it a lot about like famous people who've made it like in the arts and stuff. A lot of the families are the same. They've all got that, yeah, but you need a plan B. Yeah, but they're earning millions at what they're doing now, even when they're rich from it. It's never good enough.
Yeah.
And that's where I say, well, all right, if it fails for them, the millions that they've earned, they would never have earned that from a proper job. So they could save that money or whatever if they failed right now.
Yeah.
If they got where they got, made the money, ended it now, for the rest of their life, they're still they've earned more money doing what they're doing than they ever would in a normal job.
Yeah.
But still, it doesn't matter. Family are still the same with a lot of people.
Yeah, and that reminds me, like, about people conforming and, like, becoming basically a carbon copy of one another. Reminds me of this song lyric, and it's waiting for an order stuck in line. There are thousands of you waiting for an order stuck in line. And that's basically what the world's becoming to. You're just a product, and if you won't do it, someone else will, because there are thousands of you.
Yeah.
And that is so sad to see, because art is such a vital part of our lives that we need it.
Yeah.
We need it to express ourselves. We need it to be unique in a way, because everyone is their own being. And with the way the world is going, like I said, everyone's becoming a carbon copy of one another. It's sad.
Yeah. And a lot of like creative people as well are neurodiverse, so they can't normally do jobs like everyone else. And that's the thing, like if certainly me, I know for a fact if I had I can't even take orders like off a menu, or like a waiter or a waitress and this and that. I can't even do that.
No, same here.
And I struggle with them simple things, but I've noticed like people can just understand it once and that's it. Me, I just know that I can't do them sort of things, so I'm going to do what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And if it means me being different, then fine, because I know for a fact if I was to do a job like what everyone wants me to do, I'm going to cost the business money. I know that I am.
Yeah.
And I just wish the governments and people would just understand and accept that we're not all like that.
Exactly.
Let people do the strengths on that. And fine if people want to do like a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, then fine. And some people enjoy that.
Yeah.
And each to their own on that.
Yeah.
And that's my point on this. It's a diverse world. So why is it that when it's not a necessity, there's the point about if we all go on strike in the creative industries, let's just all do and be diverse, because that's the core of what we're on about, is that the world needs diversity. But yeah, people just don't seem to understand it sometimes.
No, exactly, because yesterday we were watching Kitchen Nightmares. The
yeah.
Gordon Ramsay show.
Yeah.
And it was an old episode, and there was this guy whose restaurant was being saved, and he had to stand on a stage and say the ingredients of this dish that was made. And all I can think now is what was in that title was duck breast. That's the only thing I remember. But there was this whole thing around it, made with this and done like that and made with that, and I was lost.
Same here.
And he had to say it, and basically Gordon Ramsay was kind of like, oh, for God's sake, you still don't get it. You chose this dish from the 3 chefs. Go back to the kitchen, ask what it was, and then he still struggled with it. And then he had to say it to the people in the restaurant that was the special. And he was struggling with it then. And then Gordon Ramsay started hovering over his shoulder and basically saying the words he had to say. But he became so nervous with the things he had to repeat that he was stuffing it up. And that's where I'm like, I feel that.
Yeah, and we're watching it saying like, that's us. Because I could see myself in him. I am like that myself on things.
Exactly. And it should be normalised that everyone's different.
I think everyone's so quick to, don't be work shy, get a job, because you're seen as lazy.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about let people do the strengths. Now, you got people like Gordon Ramsay who can just say it and express it and sell it.
Yeah.
He's good at that. Let people be good at what they do.
Exactly.
On that. When you start getting people to do things and taking them out of the comfort zone in that way, that they know they can't do that.
Yeah.
And again, I know everyone's got to push out the comfort zone. I get that, but some things we just can't all do. Just like it's like us forcing somebody to do art and then saying, "Why don't you get it? Just do it." You know, it's the same thing in that. It's just again, it's what's accepted and what's not. What people in society.
Exactly.
But again, is that a necessity that you've got to go to a restaurant and have fancy food? But there we are watching a show where they've got to, not just say what's on the menu, but they've got to dress it up in these fancy words.
Yeah.
And because he couldn't remember these fancy words and the way of describing it and selling it, they was laughing at him.
Yeah. So yeah, to sum it up, if the creative industry, all of the creative industry will go on strike, we'd have absolutely nothing left. So that goes to show that creativity, art, is important and is a necessity. Hopefully we managed to inform some people about this.
And also I just want to say, I wasn't criticising women's football earlier on because they play better than men. I was just on about the old way, it's all package up now and this and that. But yeah, they play better than the men, so I wasn't criticising women's football for that.
No, that's very true. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and hopefully we would have you in another podcast.